is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great weekend. It is a beautiful Sunday. Hopefully, you're all enjoying yourselves this fine weekend, but got a little something special for you. Draft season has begun. Oh, hell yeah. So let's get pumped up. Told you, try to get this started before March was ended, and we're here right at the end. Going to get this out. We're going to go through each and every position, talk about what the Eagles have, obviously, in draft picks, what they have at that position that we're talking about, the prospects at that position. We'll go through all of them, and we'll take a look at where I have them ranked. And then, of course, where I see the Eagles seeing the top fits at each position. So we're going to start it off at quarterback. We'll go through running back, receiver, tight end, offensive line. Then we'll get into the defense, interior D-line, the edge guys, linebackers, corners, and safeties. We'll break it all down leading into this draft. I'll give you my pick for the Eagles at 32, what I think they'll do, trade up, trade back. All that stuff we'll be discussing throughout this next month here. So I appreciate you all taking the time here. You have any questions, any comments, favorite players, someone not listed here from a small school you want to talk about, whatever's on your mind, I'd love to hear from you, how you're feeling about this position, whatever it is. Let's talk some birds. But we're going to go through this. I'm going to try to get one of these out every couple of days, I'll do what I can here. Very busy man, but it's draft season for all you sickos, so get excited. Let's get pumped up. You know the Philadelphia Eagles are ready to rock and roll, so Howie Roseman, you son of a, let's go. Let's take a look here at the Eagles draft picks, what they have here in the chamber. And look, with 26 picks projected with those 3 picks next year, over the next 3 years, that's pretty awesome. And we'll discuss where exactly each pick is once all of this stuff is finalized. It should be out within the next week or so. But we know we have pick 32. We'll be at the end of most of these rounds, but some of these teams, that traded us. So we'll have some different picks. We'll talk about all that stuff. But look, man, we've got some ammo here, and I'm very excited for this Eagles team, their future. We've talked about building a dynasty, and you do that by continuing to add the right young pieces. When people leave in free agency, you have the guys already in place. So the Eagles continue to do that. You can see a first, second, third, fourth, and then 4 fifth-round picks. So obviously, we don't have 6 or 7 right now, but we'll still talk about players in that realm because of the fact that, well, the Eagles, trade back, they trade up, they do all kinds of stuff. So just, keep that in mind. But let's take a look now at the quarterbacks that the Eagles have and where I have that as a position of need or strength. But as you can see, I have it ranked as position of need. So the number 1 is where I think, you need help the most, whether that's depth, starter, we'll talk about with each position here. But you can see quarterback is number 14. So to me, not exactly an area of need because, you just had traded for Dorian Thompson-Robinson where, we talked about getting something in return for Kenny Pickett. So you trade him to the Browns. You get DTR, who we talked about in this series a couple of years ago out of UCLA, as your third quarterback. So that means Tanner McKee moving up to QB2. Obviously, you have QB1, Jalen Hurts. Very excited about the future of this team with him at the helm. As the one person that stood by him, content creator, media person from the get, I am very excited still and so happy for him getting that Super Bowl win. But that's just the first. So let's go build this dynasty. And QB, obviously a very important position, but Tanner McKee has shown he could be that backup in case anything is needed. And then DTR, an exciting prospect. So for me, the quarterback position is pretty good, but you could bring somebody in to compete for that third position or the quarterback, practice squad guy who Ian Book was for most of the year on the active roster a little bit there when Hurts was banged up. But, you get rid of Book and Pickett. I think that I like the room right here. So for me, I'm not obviously looking too high. We'll just start it off by talking about the fact that we're going to be looking toward that end of the draft. So for me, these are guys that maybe they get drafted at the end of the draft, maybe more likely undrafted players. But this is more of the realm that I'll be looking, for the Philadelphia Eagles. And you've got some intriguing names that, you can try to find the best that you possibly can out of them. It doesn't cost you a draft pick. I don't think any of these guys, you just, sign them as undrafted kids. Maybe they get invited to camp. But, Malott, Mertz, Green, Rogers, Hudson Card, Brady Cook, Donovan Smith, Jerry Bohannon. I think that there's, definitely some intriguing names at the back end of this draft. And, clearly for teams looking for a quarterback, you've got guys, in my opinion, that, more so you're beginning of day 3, you're round 4, maybe to 6. And some of these guys could definitely go into the 7th, or maybe somebody goes higher. Dylan Gabriel, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Tyler Shuck. I think, even Leonard and Rourke and Bromser, these guys, it's really going to depend on how this draft kind of plays out, where people start taking quarterbacks. But, teams are always willing to give it a shot on some of these guys. And I think this is a list of guys that possibly could go a little higher. But for the most part, I think you could find these guys in the 4th round, maybe going in the 5th. But again, it depends on the run on quarterbacks. And, maybe a Ewers or Gabriel sneaks into that 3rd round. But I think more so your round 2 and 3 guys, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. And I don't know that Milroe even goes in the 3rd. A very intriguing prospect for sure. But again, this depends on how things shake out when teams start going for that next round. Because in my opinion, there's only 2 guys that are really 1st-round prospects. I think we all know that: Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. And to me, Cam Ward's the number 1 guy out of this list. But Sanders, it's really weird. Because of his name, I think he was really overrated. But then I think at the same time, people hate him, his attitude, and I think he's a little underrated. So it's a weird happy medium, but the kid can play, man. And he's a leader, and I know he's cocky, but you know who his dad is, right? Prime is definitely one of the cockiest players I've ever seen. But, it's going to be intriguing to see where those 2 go and then how things shake out after that, because I have no idea how teams are going to want to take quarterbacks, and a lot of teams are going to be looking, the Steelers and Raiders and so many teams that are going to want, a quarterback for the future. And maybe you can find one. It doesn't always have to be a 1st-round guy. So it's dependent on who's available at that part of the draft and, where you really need to find yourself looking for a quarterback. So we'll see. With the Eagles, to me, though, they're not going to be active in that quarterback market. So I have a few guys that I picked here. I picked 3 of them as undrafted kids where I think, could be intriguing to see what you find out of them. Donovan Smith, I thought, this year, try to keep my eye on him. A lot of prospects were talking about this kid being a 1st-round pick and so many crazy things like that. I wasn't so sure about that. At Texas Tech, he did okay, and then he transferred to Houston, and 2 years at both schools there. He's only 23, but he's 6'5", 235, a 4.58 40. I know you guys like to see that 40, so I just figured I'd add that in now. But, he's got great size, obviously, great frame there. He's got a good arm on him. I think that, he's somebody that's got great escapability where, he's not always going down, and he's going to use that size. But I just don't think his awareness is the greatest. Too many turnovers. The pressure got to him. You see, he was sacked 71 times. He had 31 interceptions to his 45 touchdowns. He really wasn't who people try to hype him up to be. And I'm not so sure that he gets drafted. He did, get 19 rushing touchdowns, only 2.5 yards per rush there, but he's a big dude. I think an intriguing, again, prospect that you could bring in, see what you get out of him. But I'm not in need of a quarterback, so that's why I'm looking at the undrafted kids here. And then next up, Brady Cook, another undrafted kid. His size, 6'2", 215, maybe a little bit of a question there, but 5 years there at Missouri. I think that this kid, a lot of the things I saw about him, he was very smart, and he's got great wheels, dude, 4.59. I saw a lot of stuff where intermediate short throws were more his stuff, I would say, but really good with the pre-snap stuff. I think that he's just somebody that doesn't have a great arm, not exactly the best awareness, and he's not like some elite, kind of athletic build here. He's got okay speed there, but you see 3.3 yards per rush there, 20 rushing touchdowns. So he can, but he had 48 passing touchdowns, almost 9,000 passing yards, 14 interceptions there, sacked 79 times. So not great there, but 65.5 completion percentage rating there. He's a kid that I don't think, is really going to get drafted here. So maybe one of those developmental types. But a kid that was really fun to watch, that I enjoyed, that, again, Tommy Mellott, I think he goes undrafted, 6 foot, 208 pounds, only 22 years old. But he's one of those dual threat quarterbacks that I really enjoyed watching. And he actually does have an arm on him, where I thought his deep ball was pretty fun to watch. But this is somebody that doesn't have exactly the best accuracy. 63.2 completion percent is not horrible, but he's got a high football IQ. It's just somebody that I don't think he was out there, being the most accurate, blowing people out of the water. That's why he played at Montana State, and his size doesn't exactly help. Where he went to school isn't going to help him. But I think that this is one of those kids that, ran the RPO stuff, had 7.2 yards per rush. He is really one of those athletic freaks. 4.42. He was on Bruce Feldman's list. I'm always into those guys. And Howie and the Eagles are too. So 8 interceptions to his 55 touchdowns, 43 rushing touchdowns. Really fun to watch. Not somebody I think it's going to, find himself as a starter, but a fun player that could be part of camp, somebody you bring in, try to develop. And you never know what you could find. So I'm not knocking little Tommy here and saying he can't ever be anything. Just saying, not likely. So probably goes undrafted. And I think that's more so where I'm looking if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, because of getting DTR there in that trade for Kenny Pickett. You grabbed a 5th-round pick, all that great stuff, but you have Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee already. So not a big focus for me in this draft. I know a lot of these other positions are going to be way more exciting for you guys. So talk about running backs up next. Then we'll get into receivers, then tight ends, then the offensive line. So very exciting positions coming. And then the defensive line and everyone else on the defense after that. So a lot of excitement for me. Hope you guys are excited. Very pumped up that the draft season has officially begun here in these parts. Been trying to get these shows out. So thank you for your patience. Hopefully you enjoy this series. Again, would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Whatever's on your mind, guys, gals, everybody out there. Appreciate each and every one of you taking the time, hitting the like button, sharing, subscribing. If you guys need anything, you can always reach out to me. I'm always here for you, as you are for me. I love each and every one of you. Hope you're having a great weekend here. And great week ahead. We're going to be putting out a bunch of these shows, so hope to hear from you. I'll keep you up to date still with any Eagles news you need to know. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You all stay safe out there, and as always, go Birds!